Hi everyone.
This is Eric.
And Lisa. And today
we're going to talk about Canada.
Yeah.
Which I'm super excited about.
More specifically, we're going to talk about my first impressions when moving to Canada.
Yeah, so I guess for the better part of a year, we lived in Canada. We've talked a few times about sort of, I guess, differences that we've noticed. And so we wanted to put some together into a video and see what other people thought as well. Guess we're just going to dive right in.
So the first point is the distances are greater, which makes a lot of sense because Canada is literally the second biggest country in the world.
Yeah, we have a lot of space.
When you talk about a 3-hour drive, it's like not that far for you. Whereas for me, it's like 3 hours. It's a long time.
So driving from Toronto to Kingston is like no big deal.
It's not crazy far, but
it's not short.
No, it's not a short drive. And related to that, public transport outside of the big centers is not that great.
In fact, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
For the most part. Well, basically what we've noticed is that, or what Lisa noticed is that in metropolitan centers like Vancouver or like Toronto, public transportation is great. As soon as you get outside of those metropolitan centers, there is no train.
So you really need a car.
You have to rely on a car.
And that's different for me because in Germany, even if you live in a smaller town, they still have train stations. So you can take the train. Maybe it only runs once an hour, but it runs.
It's still a possibility.
Yeah, you don't need to have a car. Good thing that you have a car.
Yeah, it's a good thing that I have a car.
Which brings us to the next point. Gas is a lot cheaper in Canada.
It's actually double what it would be per liter in Europe compared to home.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that depends on the day and the fluctuations and all that, but generally, yeah, you pay half the price in Canada.
So, I mean, last time we were home, it was around like 105, 110, 115, up to 120, and then summer prices 130, 140. Oh, that gets really high, which admittedly that is high per liter. In places in Europe, it would be
like €1.40 or so for a liter.
Which is like 2 CAD a liter. So
yeah, more or less.
It's a lot more in Europe. So Canadians, we can actually be happy that our gas prices are relatively cheaper.
Okay.
All right, next one.
Another thing that's not that cheap in Canada is cell phone plans.
Oh yeah, cell phone plans suck in Canada.
In Germany and most countries in Europe, it's possible to get a cell phone plan for like €10 a month. So that would be like 15 CAD a month. Whereas
in Canada, it takes like 50, 55 CAD a month to get maybe a gig or 2 of data.
I mean, maybe there are better plans now. It's a lot more expensive.
Now with things like Freedom Mobile really sort of pushing into the space and trying to give people like big data, like 5 and 10 gig, that's awesome. But there is a monopoly on telecommunications in Canada. Cell phone prices and plans are so expensive.
On a more positive note though, people are generally very friendly.
That's true. We are typically a friendly bunch.
Yeah.
I mean, of course every country has their annoying apples, but like generally Canadians are pretty happy-go-lucky friendly people.
Yeah.
Do you remember the guy in the ATM line? Remember when we were standing there trying to put money in and that guy just whipped around and just started chatting with us?
Oh
the
yeah.
big guy.
Yeah, which is another point. Small talk is really a thing. And first of all, I'm not really that used to small talk. And I'm also a more introverted person, so I don't just start talking to everyone. So it took some time for me to get used to.
It's not that everyone talks all the time. Like, it's not like everyone is standing in line just chit-chatting away, but it does happen. Whereas in other countries, particularly Germany, it just doesn't happen.
I mean, it happens every once in a while, but just not
as much.
No.
Which is funny.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
you do it too. Sometimes. Maybe I'll get better at it.
It takes practice.
Yeah. Just have to practice.
You can do it.
Thanks for believing in me. Tea break.
Tea break.
We've had tea in every
it's become a thing that we drink tea in our videos, which, for the record, I do also really love coffee.
Coffee, good point.
Oh yeah.
Speaking about Canada and coffee, there's literally Tim Hortons everywhere.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. I mean,
the Timbits are pretty good.
Yeah, so a lot of people, yes, Timbits are very good. A lot of people are critical of Tim Hortons coffee because admittedly it isn't that good. Some people are also critical of their baked goods, saying that they've gone down in quality over the years because they're, you know, made from frozen and whatnot. But Timbits are still really good. When Lisa first came to Canada, one of the first places we went was Tim Hortons, and I had her try an iced cap and a Timbit, and a chocolate Timbit.
Yeah.
And you...
I like them. It's nice in the
Yeah.
summer, but it's also very sweet.
It was very sweet.
Yeah.
It was hot though, so an ice cap in the summer is like
Yeah.
beautiful.
It was pretty good.
Oh, so is a Caesar, and that's, I love a Caesar.
Yeah.
A good Caesar.
No, you make good Caesar.
It's the Canadian version of a Bloody Mary made with a slightly different kind of tomato juice because the tomato juice has clam in it. That's basically the difference. It's called Clamato, and it's delicious. No, I want a Caesar. Next one.
Another thing I noticed is more specifically to you, but I mean your mom does it, and maybe I think lots of other people.
Oh, I know
do
what you're
too.
talking about.
Is saying a lot.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
It's a Canadian stereotype that we say A. I say A. I do say A a lot.
Yeah.
It's just like it's just an affirmation. It's just like a tack on as to what you're saying. And hey, the buds were great last night, eh? Like it's just, I don't know. I like it.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
Okay, next point. Very Canadian as well.
What's that?
Hockey is super important, and honestly I can't believe how many games there are in a season.
I love hockey.
I mean, I like it too, but like I'm used to soccer having grown up in Germany and Europe in general. Just it's all about soccer or football depending on where you're from. But in a season you have like 30 something games, and then obviously international games as well, and then you have like German like league things. So there are multiple, like a lot of games as well, but not close to
82.
not
Yeah.
82 games in a like and then
Like-
teams dropping off.
No.
No.
Like every team has to play 82 games.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Which is awesome. And it's funny over here that you have to say, if someone says hockey, depending on the person, you might have to say ice hockey.
Yeah.
Because if you say, oh, like I was watching hockey or playing hockey, they might think field hockey.
Mm-hmm.
In Canada, people don't typically play field hockey. It's a university sport, and it's played in a few sort of smaller leagues, but generally the only hockey is ice hockey. But we would never say ice hockey because there's kind of only one main hockey in Canada.
Yeah.
Whereas over here, you have to differentiate
That's true.
between ice hockey and field hockey. Go Leafs, go.
The Canadian money is made out of plastic.
Yeah.
Fun fact. And I honestly, I didn't know that
Yeah.
until you showed me.
It's like Monopoly money.
Yeah. It's kind of convenient.
Australian money, which is also in plastic.
Yeah.
But they're definitely more convenient because if you leave a bill in your pocket in the wash,
Yeah.
not going to disintegrate.
But generally, you don't even really use cash that much anyway, because
Which is a good segue into the second point.
in Canada, a lot of people use credit cards or their debit cards for pretty much everything. Whereas in Germany, I mean, we touched upon that in our
Must knows when traveling to Germany for the first time.
Germany for the first time. In that video, we mentioned that Germans really, really like their cash and don't really like using credit cards or debit cards. In Canada, that's very
Quite the
different.
opposite, yeah. We're slowly moving away from a cash society and becoming
Yeah.
cashless. Whether that's good or bad, we'll see
We'll see.
in the coming years, I guess.
Another thing I just remembered, it can get really cold. And I lived in Minnesota for a while, so I knew how cold it could get in that part of like the world, but I was not really prepared for just how cold it can feel. Not all the time, but sometimes.
We also lived in Ontario, which is the West Coast doesn't have as much fluctuation, whereas Ontario has the lakes and has this extreme seasonal fluctuation of plus 30 in the summers and minus 25, minus 30 in the winters.
Pretty much all of what I've been saying or what we've been talking about is pretty much relevant for Ontario because I've never been on the West Coast.
We went to Montreal.
Yeah,
and
that
Ottawa.
was it. So
That's
yeah,
it.
that's pretty much it. That's all the observations I had. And I know there's probably so many things that I can't remember now.
But those are things that we've kind of talked about.
And it's also probably going to be different for everyone. So
Yeah.
those are just like
You're
our
gonna notice.
experiences.
Yeah, you're gonna notice different things if you're.
Yeah. Also
live-
depending on where you live.
Exactly. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That
Let
means
us-
exactly or right, like
Yeah.
in German.
Yeah.
We say that a lot.
So let us know if you have any more points that we
Yeah.
can include and what your experience kind of has been if you moved to Canada from like another
Part of the world. We'll compare.
Sounds good.
Cool.
So talk to you soon.
Until next time.
Bye.
Cheers.